Welcome everyone, looks we are live and some people tuning in. Happy New Year everyone, another video that I didn't really plan to make. The year is off to a good start, right? Yesterday on the More Live channel I took a look at the remote management capabilities of the Asus Pro WS X570 ACE that I have since a year or so, 18-16 months here in this workstation that I'm live streaming off for my Linux needs. And initially, I said this yesterday, so the summary is I'm not even using this remote capabilities. I think this is what ACE stands for. This ACE is probably Asus Control Center Express, I guess. And in any case, they market the remaining stuff that even the Express might license, might come for free with a motherboard. But if you want to use more, then this looks like even for like, it's unusable, you can barely do anything, and if you want to do a little bit more than nothing, then you even need to pay for a license, I think. But that's not even the point. So the point is other people also found, so that's not some standard thing like intelligent remote management protocol stuff there. That are long standards like Intel standard for 20 years as the Intelligent Platform Management Interface IPMI, as implemented with many other motherboards and even at some Asus boards, obviously. So this ACE stuff is, as far as I've seen, not IPMI compatible. And it's using some custom stuff, right? And I looked into this, even the Windows, even on level 1 tech, I had this yesterday, people were like, nah, you can't use it much and stuff. So I looked into this, so the firmware, you can download the firmware for the update there. We dissected that yesterday, 45 or so minute stream, you can watch that probably. The long story short is, in my opinion, so this was obsolete at release, it ships within 4.18. Strings VM Linux version 4.18 kernel, open WRT, and also state-of-the-art GCC 4.9. The problem with that is this kernel is by now 6 years old or something. What was the build? The build date is newer, but whatever. And so it's an old kernel, and even unfortunately with even the Linux kernel open source, there are bugs and vulnerabilities, and they are all in there, right? So they shipped this a year ago. They built this 2020, not even a year ago, right? With this 5-6 year old kernel, not even the latest. Yeah, this is a premium PC stuff, right? Not even an old kernel, so often with board support packages and SDK, but then not even the dedication and awareness to apply the latest stable release patches. Although that might be quite an effort because this includes quite some Realtek stuff. We looked at this detail yesterday. So due to the nature, I would also call this probably mostly insecure. This stuff is also the way it works internally. It has as far as I've seen, there is an in-kernel VNC server. Like here, and like grep for or find VNC. You have the details in yesterday's video, so I've not looked further. Some special Realtek 8117 VNC server. So the way this KVM stuff works, actually not too bad. Just like you would normally not do that in their in the kernel. So some custom stuff there. I'm not sure on a first glance how much of that is hardware assistant and so on. The user interface events, they pass through with USB, so there is some tight coupling of this Realtek VNC server and some Realtek VNC. Also, so this is at least 250 megahertz that I think probably highest clock frequency, CPU frequency scaled 400 megahertz. So this is probably a 400 megahertz 32 megabyte memory coprocessor sitting there, security implications, previous video, and so on. Leave me in the comments below what you think. So the other thing is, so that is just this quick summary, right? And then, so why do I look into this? I looked into this because the stuff that Asus provides, all the stuff is Windows only, right? And for you can barely do anything, and if you want to do more, you even need to pay additionally for a license, I think. and even then it's not really useful. What I'm looking for is some IPMI, some secure shell to, of course it would be nice to remote administer your workstation, right? And also to shout out what is the regular quality, right? So the remote management stuff is like outdated Linux kernel, no security patches. Obviously a lot of water has flown down that river since March 2020. And I didn't stop there last night. I poked a little bit more into this stuff, and I found that, in my opinion, as far as I've found, this is even my interpretation of the GPL violation, because they have here some custom driver built in. I found here, so they, it looks to me, I think this Lucy is, I should actually have checked that. Lucy, so this is probably, this is a standard OpenWRT, this is what I remembered. And they have some API app module that is from Asus, or probably most likely maybe even Retech. So I don't know who wrote this. Is there a copyright in? Copyright Retech. Okay, so we have clarified that. So Retech. But as far as I've seen, this is probably only used at Asus. I've not seen Googling for internet searching for RTL 8.11.7 didn't bring up any other vendor. So Asus is in violation here, and and based on the codes supplied by Retech. Also, probably no other vendors using this, right? I wonder if all other vendors looked at this. All the Asian vendors, of course, they have their supply stuff, and they know what is on the market, right? Yeah, so they certainly know what is available, what hardware they can source. So I wonder if all the other vendors looked at this and like, yeah, YOLO, whatever. Last updated 2017, amazing stuff. Yeah, and only Asus is using this. So what is the problem with this stuff? With this stuff, the problem is, of course, again, my goal would theoretically be to be able to make this work for me or for others. And no, all right, this is a little bit. Let's grab for the device file. So if you look at what device things here are used, or system SysFS controlled. So this web interface stuff, API app, is using this class APRO control, power on, power off. So this looks to be one-to-one wired through to whatever hardware mechanisms they use there. That would need to be reverse engineered. And this is, of course, yeah, like stuff. If I would start to reverse engineer or recompile Linux kernel, like certainly if I would want to use this, right now it's outdated and unusable. So if I would want to update this with a latest Linux kernel for security and add some proper features that it actually freaking works for something, we would need this in-kernel support, right? So this is some in-kernel APRO control stuff for this very specific Asus or Realtek RTL 8.11.7 inherited mechanisms here to control the x86, right? So we are talking about a Ryzen AM4 x86 machine with this MIPS 32-bit 400 megahertz sideband processor for remote management. And yeah, so then I looked, okay, fine, this is the stuff, right? And so the problem with that stuff is that I don't find this in any of these Realtek provided sources, right? This would be like this one. Also, some of my doxes is right now not amazing. So this is a source tree. So there's nothing in the Linux source tree, right? And obviously it is in the VM Linux. So here, as you see, VM Linux binary file matches. I stringed that, right? So there is all the stuff, KVM settings, USB R. As far as I've seen, this R stands for redirect. So this USB redirect. Apparently, I think you can attach there some USB storage for OS install and stuff. Also, yeah, highly professionally, so super finalized stuff, like with apparently not disabled, like enabled logging of close and opening the device there. and so on, like so the usual super amazing quality. The only matches we find here is other OpenWRT stuff, but this is this is the wrong grab. So this is like also not. This is just this Realtek API app, and this is I think this was not even the full thing. I think this was like only a skeleton. To me, it looks like they probably they removed, or this is an older version, whatever the API app controller API. This is the last 2017. Anyway, doesn't matter. So my point being is they have there at least this API control thing in there, which is obviously, yeah, that's a crazy thing, right? The big companies, whether it's Apple, although Apple is of course the cleanest with all the licenses, obviously, which is also why they invested so much in LVM Kling and don't use latest GCC. At least Apple is pretty clear of how they use open source stuff. But also Facebook and Google, right? Obviously, they don't even need to publish all the stuff because Google and Facebook and Amazon, they are not distributing this stuff, so they are not even necessarily required to release all the sources. But Asus and like others, like access points from Asus and Realtek and stuff, they are distributed to users, and this is why they, of course, need to release the source code of GPL licensed stuff. And they write this here, right? This is a manual of, this URL is probably not fully visible, so this is Asus there, and yes, I'm streaming from my M1 Max, which is why this is macOS. So offer to provide source code for certain software. So this is straight from the Prime X, by the way. Is it even the, I think, why is it Prime X570p? I think I clicked on, only now I realized, this is even the Prime, well, wait a second, why do I not have the right manual? I'm pretty sure I clicked on, anyway, the manuals are obviously all including the same text. So the point is they even write this there, like they have to for GPL conformance. And was it that one or the other? This is crazy. Why does it say TUF Gaming X570 series? Do they freaking... I think I had... Anyway, okay, fine. Then this is really what we get there. Anyway, the point being, they even write this here, the product contains copyrighted software that is licensed under the general public license, GPL, and under the lesser general public license or other free open source software license. Such software is, in this product, is distributed without any warranty to the extent permitted by the applicable law. Copies of, also, this is also, I find it always funny, you buy a product, then they say, hey, there's open source inside, right? But there is no warranty. It's like, yeah, well, a little strange sounding always. Anyway, so for free downloading this stuff, so where the applicable license entitles you to the source code of such software and other additional data you may obtain for the period of 3 years after our last shipment of the product, either for free downloading it from or the cost of reproduction and shipping, which is dependent on the preferred carrier location, yada, yada, yada. So yeah, so this is incomplete, right? And of course, I'm aware that this is a little bit gray area for some. For me, I would hope that Linus Torvalds stands here. Don't remember all of his quotes, but I'm aware that some Linux kernel developers are not as strict to the law. But in my opinion, no, I'm not a lawyer, so probably advise your own lawyer. But my understanding is if you statically link the stuff together, and yes, there is fine of like dynamically might be a little bit different of yeah, whatever, and statically maybe a little bit more strict because it's one combined, because the thing is derived. GPL2 text. The thing is derived stuff, right? And derived to something or derived from the, where is it? You may work. You must cause any work that you distribute or publish that is sued or in part contains or is derived from the program or any part thereof to be licensed as a whole at no charge and so on. And they also write here complete, right? Here, section 3 or so. You may copy and distribute the program and or work based on it under section 2 in object code or executable form under the terms of section 1 and 2, and provided that you also do one of the following, accompany it with a complete corresponding machine readable source code, right? And so this is not complete and not corresponding as far as I've seen here. And yeah, otherwise the other stuff is only B accompanying a written offer, valid for at least 3 years. This is where the ASUS, if you're wondering, yeah, 3 years, is it a little bit shady there? It's like, no, that is exactly what the GPL writes here. And C is only accompany it with the information you received as to the offer to distribute corresponding source codes. This alternative is allowed only for non-commercial distribution and only if you received the program object code or executable form which such an offer is accord with section B. So yeah, for me this is clear. I hope this would be clear for everyone. It would be a little bit more gray, in my opinion, and some Linux kernel developers, if it's linked as a module. But as far as I see here from this VM Linux, it does to me not look like, well, even more definite would be to have this run. But on a first glance, so the problem is obviously I don't have it. There is always a possibility that this is a module in the init.rd. Which I would say most likely the chances are not high because where do we have this match right now? I don't see. Where do we have API? This is also other. Let's see, what do we are? A Pro controller. See it anyway, yes, please. A Pro control. And if we have strings, or we could otherwise, yeah, so this is directly surrounded with other strings. So this, in my opinion, this is like 99% sure that this is linked. This is simply too surrounded by too much other kernel stuff. So this is most definitely directly straight in the kernel and not a init.rd module. To rule that point out, and welcome everyone. So I even took, so what to do now, right? So normally mailing ASUS, it's like, hey, by the way, guys, I think this is a little bit incomplete. Wouldn't you mind to send me the whole sources? And yes, I've done so last night and today again. I only did this. I only sent this again, so this is probably today, right? I did send this already last night. From another account, I only tested whether this is our company email server, because that is what we get, right? So I wrote to ASUS, as you can probably somewhere here, GPL support. So they have here an email, right? If, however, you encounter any problems in obtaining the full corresponding source code, we would be much obliged if you give us a notification to the email address gpl@asus.com stating the product description of the problem. Please do not send large attachments such as source code archives and such to the email address. So I made them relatively friendly here, in my opinion, 3 times now, 2 times last night and 1 time now. Dear GPL support here at gpl@asus.com, yeah, no typo. I downloaded the GPL source code for the ASUS WS570X. By the way, is it so right? I mean, I hope I copied that, but you can Pro, this is Pro WS. Not that it would matter too much. Oh, I made a little bit typo there. Yeah, Pro should copy this. Anyway, so this link here of the source table, and on an initial review, I already found it to be incomplete and at least lacking the A Pro control driver statically linked into the Linux kernel. The GPL version 2 clearly says, among other details in section 3, complete machine readable copy of the corresponding source code. I would therefore kindly ask to make available the whole modified Linux kernel source code. Best regards. And guess what I got back? I instantly, so this auto reply, right? And it's like, yeah, delivery to the following recipients or groups fail GPL asus.com. The recipient's mailbox is full and cannot accept mail at this time. Please try resend the message again later. Contact the recipient directly. It's like, yeah, how more directly should we contact them? And also, I tried 3 times already. In my opinion, as usual, as I found over the years, this of course stings. So they just use a Linux kernel. You could call it steal or rip off. I mean, it is in general fair use. They get a whole operating system for free, right? Done by the community, including small little lights like myself, but otherwise 10, if not 100,000 of developers over 30 years. So they get a state-of-the-art Unix-like system for free, and they don't even have the dedication and stuff and the courage to publish all the modified sources, right? And I mean, some people could say I should be thankful that here's at least some stuff, because this tree includes otherwise 3 new socks from Realtek. However, this 8.11.7 is only used, as far as I could find, in this Asus products. I think there are probably 2 Asus mainboards that use that. So yeah, this Realtek chipset otherwise not the biggest use, right? And even the whole Open WRT, right? So this Open WRT is similar to RT2 and build environment for obviously wireless routers. So they not only use Linux kernel, they use the whole build environment of Open WRT, including the uclibc, of course a GCC compiler, a linker, all the other surrounding stuff, including Lua, and including this Lucy OpenWRT Lua web-based framework that they integrated their stuff into. Also, by the way, I found this here also a little bit strange. I found here also in user space part for this VNC server. I think if I have ever, the problem is, should I put more time into this, right? Should I even bother contacting ASUS? And leave in the comments below. So for me, the problem is they get, what I wanted to say is they get so much, they get basically a multi-million-dollar operating system that is Linux and all the surrounding GNU toolchain stuff for free. And they don't even give back the bare minimum, right? I mean, not to start with it. It should just work. It should adhere to standards like IPMI. And I sit here, can't use this strange Windows software nonsense here. That probably the video here is the best of all the stuff. Everything else is probably here. I hope they have no customers and no healthcare and education is really using that. So this stuff does not just work. They waste my time investigating it, and I find the source codes they publish are even incomplete. And even if they would complete, the next problem is, of course, then at least the file name says signed. So I wonder if maybe the firmware update and flashing stuff would not even accept that. If we bin walk that stuff, then the header starts here. So maybe it starts with a signature or something. Did I even, not even. But yeah, we probably could work around this. Maybe the easiest, yeah, so the beginning is something where it starts. So it is potentially possible that the beginning is a signature, Asus BIOS flash tool specific signature, potentially, maybe. We could obviously crack that. We could also we could solder on the flash and flash it manually, sideload that from besides the Asus official flash tools. We could probably also just look at the Linux CVEs and find nice remote code execution stuff that we could reuse to, maybe it is easier to use Linux kernel CVEs, because it is, again, a recurring theme, right? 4.4.18 kernel. So it should not be that difficult to find something to actually like log in there. And I wonder, maybe it even has secure shell running. Not sure what. Yeah, it has drop beer in there at least. Yeah. So what I mounted, or did it not? I thought it had at least some. This was probably this. And welcome everyone. So I think it has secure shell also. Is it? Oh yeah, there's drop beer. So it also, yeah, maybe it has a drop beer running. Not entirely sure if they really start this. Also, it has etc rcd s50 drop beer. Although the host keys are empty by default, not sure if they would generate some. Do they generate some somewhere? Oops. Do they have somewhere UI validated section? Thank you very much. Generate missing keys. Yeah, okay. Apparently they might keygen that. The other crazy thing, which I think the sentence I didn't finish, is they apparently have here also some additional user space VNC server. Did I start to poke into that one? I'm not sure. It was late last night. Yeah, this is relatively small. So I also devmem. Why? So this is using devmem. Oops. Yeah, so wherever you look, most likely the stuff is, and this is also the recurring theme. I could sit here a week and dissect the stuff, but I obviously have no time for this low quality bullshit here, right? This looks to me, this is like the usual worst case, clobbered everything together. They did not know what they are doing. Like interns and junior programmers who like Windows, who learned Windows at university or school and now are forced to work with Linux. And I have seen this so often, right? Yeah, this is using devVNC. So yeah, I'm not sure why it's needs to use devmem, but probably the usual. We need to fiddle around in the memory manually. So not sure why they do that. Maybe for additional authentication. Maybe they run the in-kernel VNC only on a local socket or something, and use there some user space. This thing is tiny, I think. Yeah, this is only 9K. Yeah, also this SM bus. I think this was also not in there. Although that is of course not a GPL violation because that is a normal user program. So this SM bus is also somehow interfacing with the host system. I wanted, where was the other RTL? Yeah, so they have init SM bus, but here, this is drivers, all right. Not entirely dash. There is some dash SM bus, so I would need to poke around further if maybe there is even something, maybe not, maybe that's something else, or is it retag? But in any case, unfortunately, we couldn't force them to open that because if it's running in user space, then there's also some VNC thing. Or maybe there's also sources for this, if you're lucky. Yeah, I'm surprised they have the sources for this here then. Should have no. There is dev VNC. This is on the serial. It's a virtual machine. This is a little bit not a fan. Also doxes, like, come on. Yeah, map kernel VNC struct. Yeah, there we have that. Do they use mmap? So maybe, wow, maybe they memmap directly. They shared memory map a kernel structure. What could possibly go wrong? IOCTL VGA enable. FB physical. are they which are they get this, are they okay, so they indeed, it's not entirely clear to me why they do that, because they have an in-kernel VNC server that looks to be quite complete VNC server. So what do they do here? Anyway, this video gets too long, but just to document how companies fiddle their stuff together until they have strange solutions that do not really work much at all, and other people agree they need to debug this dodgy code stuff. Yeah, so I mean, on one way, creative use of, interesting use of in-kernel VNC with maybe hardware assistant. Somehow I've not yet found how they pass this VNC frame buffer to the x86 side. So the thing is, I don't really have time for this stuff, right? Although you can share, like, and subscribe, and Patreon, and GoFundMe, and GitHub sponsors and stuff, because there's obviously so much fun stuff to explore. On one way, I should probably just, like, yeah, YOLO, whatever, forget it. It's some random garbage. It's totally worth my time. On the other hand, I'm a little bit curious. I mean, if this would, and I said this on yesterday's stream, if this would be open stuff that we could just run proper MIPS Linux on there, it would even be, hey, 400 megahertz coprocessor, right, for cool stuff, like a VNC server for your real Linux remote management stuff. Why do I need this? I needed this because you would ask, if this is rock solid, you don't need this. But you have seen me, I've massively undervolted performance curve boost optimized that and so on. And I had some lookups also. Actually, I think in retrospect, some of the lookups were previous videos, kernel tempfs over commit and actually the Linux kernel deadlocking. So that is why virtualization does not always help you if the Linux kernel memory subsystem deadlocks because memory overcommitting of tempfs pages. Then yeah, you need exactly some non-host system sideband remote management stuff, and would be nice if we would have it. And yeah, unfortunately I have more important stuff to do. Otherwise, we could certainly completely dive into this, dissect this, and try to, or not try, we don't try, we do here, recreate this in a more stable, more open, more usable way. The problem with it is it, of course, takes weeks, right? Even getting an own Linux to run, right now it's my main workstation, so I don't even would want to hardware probe around there on hardware flashing the MIPS firmware there. So maybe if I get the Threadripper this year, then this is my secondary system, could poke around on that. What I will probably do out of principle, so it's like theoretically, yeah, I have better things to do, but this annoys me a little bit, right? The biggest annoyance for me is that on top of all of this stuff, they violate, as far as I can see, in my humble opinion, the GPL here for the in-kernel stuff. And sure, we could reverse engineer this. Everything is possible. It just takes time. And it shouldn't be our waste of additional time, which if we make an open solution in weeks or a month, it's already way too much wasted time of us, which ASUS advertised this feature. It's barely works. It's total useless crap, probably insecure all over the place. And on top of this, we don't even have the sources. If we don't, I mean, normally, recurring theme, normally I would expect a whole documentation, like a protocol specification of this are the hardware registers, this are the hardware GPIOs, this is the protocol used between x86 and the MIPS thing. So this is a PCIe connected Realtek NIC. So obviously it looks to me that this Realtek NIC has some probably hardware assisted memory frame buffer mapping thing, which is of course, it doesn't need to do much, right? It doesn't only need to pass PCIe based busmaster memory transfers. Not the greatest state of the art stuff. PC graphic cards have done this since the middle of the 90s. So I would normally call for a complete open specification so that people can work against this. And as this is apparently usually too much for companies because, oh, trade secrets, holy grail and stuff. It's like, yeah, low quality solutions of totally trivial stuff, reusing millions of lines of Linux kernel code, but oh, intellectual property of our holy VNC protocol, stuff like, yes, thank you very much. Yeah, on top of this, the source code, at least the source code is low quality. It also always is. I've seen already quite some hairy things in there with just hours of scrolling through there. And I probably somehow keep bugging this. But this is also, last but not least, the last drop on this mountain of questionable stuff is that I need to now even waste more time even contacting them, right? They have an, in my opinion, this is also really shady, if I may say so. Because if they specify here GPL address, was it not this one? Or this was the other one of, maybe I did in browser then. If they already specify an address, it should also work, right? And not that if you contact them, it's like, yeah, you know, whatever, our inbox is full. It's like, seriously, do they not have computers? I mean, one of the leading manufacturers of PC components, they don't have the storage to store some gigabytes of email. Heck, even our Execode stuff doesn't have. Maybe we have a 50 megabyte email limit, but don't spam us now. And stuff. But this is really shady, in my opinion. This is really showing the middle finger, sticking the middle finger into it. Additionally to all the stuff, making it even harder to contact them, right? And this is really not serious. This is completely unserious. That is unprofessional. And now it wastes even more time on top of all of this review and trying to make use of the stuff. Now I need to spend even more resources just to contact someone. And obviously, me being me, I tweeted that already, obviously, also to spread some awareness. With a link to our video from yesterday with Twitter at Asus, but obviously big mega corporations, they do not reply to tweets usually. And going through the usual support chains, so now I know this already, right? I've done this for 20 years. So if I now mail the support at ASUS, then they tell me, first they don't know what I talk about, then 5 emails later they tell me, we have this GPL email stuff, please email this to GPL, and then it's like, yeah, YOLO, good joke, I tried this already 5 emails before. So even just reaching someone could be hours of multiple emails, of pinging there, or last but not least, good luck sending them a snail mail. Like I would need to pay for an old-fashioned paper mail, if not even first class or royal registered stuff for like 60 euro or dollars a pop of stuff, of even paying to notify someone. Anyway, if someone at ASUS watches this, please contact me. All I wanted to is use this otherwise relatively well, except the BIOS, right, relatively well working motherboard. And the crazy thing on top of all of this is even they print on the stuff Pro, right? And even here, it's printed on the heatsink. We'll be back. Temporary closed service announcement. Good that we live stream that. Can't make this stuff up. So yeah, even their website is going out of order apparently, or something. Yeah, or we use the URL wrong. What did I want to say? Yeah, so they print on this made for pros or so. Oh, this is also so wrong. Oh, come on. When you already do internet search the stuff, they market it as pro, and so you can't call this for pros, right? If your remote management stuff is unusable garbage, unusable non-standard stuff, and for real pros, like open source people who really use it to its limits, there you include unusable solutions that, if you want to use the source code, are even incomplete. And if you try to contact them, you get an out of quota. Where was this? Somewhere was printed. Yeah, build for pros there, right? Also can be, yeah, build for pros, right? Yeah. For me, this also means for the future, I'm not even sure if I will. I had so many issues with this board otherwise. I mean, if it works, it works, but I should basically not have updated the AGESA previous videos, right? I got only all the improved performance, promised improved performance and stability, always wasn't there. It was more USB unstable. AMD's or Asus fault, I don't know. But last but not least, it burns the memory channel of an AMD 5950X, which thankfully AMD RMA'd me. That would be really painful if AMD didn't RMA me that. But in the end, I have to say the whole BIOS, basically the whole BIOS stinks, right? The BIOS UEFI stuff, total low quality stuff that if you will look with real computer science and design, like user interface design, you find so many issues, this options, this control, the default values, the behavior of the stuff, the BIOS update, I couldn't downdate when I wanted, and it burned a memory channel for no good reason. And then this remote software, right, completely clobbered together, like someone's first project here of, yeah. Leave in the comments below. So basically, yeah, that's it. In my opinion, leave in the comments below what you think. How do you see this here? What is your experience? And what do you think on the general Linux open source scene and situation and stuff? And comments there, just reverse engineer the board, firmware board itself, and modify yourself to fix your needs. Yeah, I mean, you can reverse engineer the MIP stuff, the x86 stuff, the AGESA stuff. That is highly complex, right? I don't want to reverse engineer something a year or two, but if you share, like, and subscribe, maybe eventually we get to there. And what else do you have? Use the hardcoded root password and secure shell server. Yeah, I need to check. They had here, I found there's some password. I think it wasn't hard coded. I think it root 0x and yeah, it has some hard coded hash. The question is, does dropbeer allow, does it allow root login? That is a question. OpenSSH does not. I also saw somewhere that they piped something to MK password or something. Just password. All right, we grabbed it. So, so they have here some clear password thing. And that reset that. They also have here. Where do they have? Yeah, would need to. It wouldn't surprise me. A recurring theme. Usually the stuff is, yeah. It could be as simple as just the default password. I probably, the next time I have a free hour in the office, I probably enable that. I have this obviously disabled and not even network cable connected to this insecure stuff. So yeah, don't forget to share and subscribe. We will probably continue on this. Leave in the comments below what you would do, how you see this GPL violation thing. And in regards to this super professional, maybe I should make a joke out of this and write a cron job to email them from our server every day. But that probably will yield an out of quota thing each day. Wouldn't surprise me. And yeah, this is in general recurring theme here, the state of information technology. Unfortunately, people always believe everything is so amazing and so AI and so future and stuff. And yeah, the Linux kernel is monolithic single address based stuff, and on top of this, the people YOLO together whatever they find. This is what do you mean? What did you, by the way, do to burn the mem? I only updated the BIOS, previous video. I had this nicely tuned, not even that fast. What memory did I have? I had a slightly overclocked, or did I have the world's fastest at that time? Anyway, I had this running, it was running perfectly, and I only upgraded the BIOS and restored the previous settings, and then after that it didn't post anymore, only beep, whatever, 3 times or so. And I already thought that the stuff is completely dead, and only by pure luck I removed the memory. I plugged in a 2700X and that worked. And then obviously found shit, the 1550X is somehow dead, and I already thought it's fully dead, and only then by accidentally, I already wanted to give up. It was just pure chance that I somehow started it with 1 memory channel in there or something, and it actually came back up with only 1 memory channel. Of course, I plugged in then the other memory channel, but no 1 memory channel permanently didn't work anymore, and AMD replaced me that. So yeah, again, with some talk, always a little bit longer. As usual, leave in the comments below what you think. Don't forget to share and subscribe. And if you want to support all the crazy stuff here, then you know where all the sponsorship stuff is. Hope you learned something, and see you soon for all the next crazy fun.